I'd like to welcome you all. Thank you today for joining us for our paid family leave webinar on military leave. I'm Adam Rossi from the Communication and Outreach Unit here at the Workers' Compensation Board. And today we will provide an overview of New York State's landmark paid family leave benefit, specifically as it pertains to military leave. We will review new and improved benefits for 2023, eligibility, how to apply, a walkthrough of the required forms and documentation, some important information regarding COVID-19, as well as some frequently asked questions. We do ask that you enter questions today in the chat box, which is located on the bottom right side of your screen. Again, there should be an icon. Just click that. A chat box should pop up. You can enter your questions through there. You can enter your questions at any time throughout the presentation. However, we will hold off on answering any questions until the end. Joining me today to answer your questions is Courtney Valley from our Office of General Counsel. And Courtney will answer as many of your questions as she can. But if you have questions that we either don't get to today, or if you think of something after the session ends, we will be providing you with resources at the end of the presentation. So we'll go ahead and get started here. Again, we are going to be discussing paid family leave as it pertains to military-related leave. And since its implementation in 2018, paid family leave benefits have been significantly enhanced to improve the lives of working New Yorkers and their families, including more time off, more uses of paid family leave, and more financial security. In today's presentation, we'll start by discussing why we need paid family leave, and then cover some basics you need to know, including the 3 original uses of paid family leave, an overview of the benefits, how much it costs, who's eligible, and steps you need to take to request paid family leave for military-related service. We'll review some frequently asked questions about this type of leave, discuss information regarding paid family leave and COVID-19, and point you to some helpful resources, and then leave time at the end for the questions. Again, you can enter your questions at any point today, but we will hold off on answering them until after this session. So let's get started. Why do we need paid family leave? For too long, employees have struggled to maintain their jobs when they need to care for a loved one during a specific time of need, whether that's welcoming a new baby, caring for a family member with a serious health condition, or dealing with family pressures when a loved one is deployed abroad on active military service. More recently, many employees have been challenged by having to quarantine due to COVID-19 or care for a minor dependent child who is subject to a mandatory quarantine or order of isolation. Employees in these situations face the stress of losing income when they need to take time off to help their family, and also fear their job may be gone when the family situation is over. In response to these needs, New York took action. In April of 2016, New York paid family leave, the nation's strongest and most comprehensive paid family leave policy, was signed into law. Paid family leave is employee-funded insurance that helps employees be there for their family when they're most needed. Because of paid family leave, workers across New York no longer have to choose between caring for their loved ones in their jobs, as we now have employee-paid insurance to help in these critical times. Paid family leave provides job-protected, paid time off, so you can bond with a newly born, adopted, or foster child, care for a family member with a serious health condition, or assist a loved one when a spouse, domestic partner, child, or parent is called to active military service abroad. Paid family leave also now provides paid time off and job protection so you can care for yourself or your minor dependent child when under a mandatory order of quarantine or isolation due to COVID-19. The order must be issued by the state of New York, the Department of Health, local board of health, or any government entity duly authorized to issue such order due to COVID-19. We will go into more details on these uses later in the presentation, as they are a bit different from the others. In addition to paid time off, New York's paid family leave also has strong employee protections. You are guaranteed to return to the same or a comparable job after taking paid family leave. A comparable job is defined as a position with comparable employment benefits, pay, and other terms and conditions of employment. You are guaranteed continuation of health insurance while out on paid family leave, on the same terms as if you had continued to work. If you contribute to the cost of your health insurance, you must continue paying your portion of the premium while on leave. You are also guaranteed protection from discrimination and retaliation. Requesting or taking paid family leave cannot be held against you. So as mentioned, today we will focus on paid family leave as it relates to military deployment. Paid family leave benefits are available when you have a family member on active military service abroad or who has been notified of an impending call or order of active service abroad, and family assistance is needed. Eligibility for paid family leave for an active service deployment is the same as the military provisions of the Federal Family Medical Leave Act, also known as FMLA. They cover your spouse, child, domestic partner, or parent. There are a number of instances where paid family leave will help, which are shown here on your screen. Military deployment can be a stressful time for service members and their families as they face the realities of what this means for them. Military leave allows employees to be present and provide support to their family during this time of need without having to worry about losing their job or financial security. Working military spouses already have a difficult time maintaining long-term employment due to moves, deployment, and childcare. Having paid family leave eases financial strains, allowing military spouses to focus their time on both work and family, while service members can stay focused on their mission and worry less about how to pay bills. And when the service member returns from deployment for rest and recuperation, paid family leave gives families valuable time to reconnect. Now let's look at the specific benefits available to you under paid family leave. Eligible employees are able to take up to 12 weeks of paid family leave at 67% of their average weekly wage, capped at 67% of the New York State average weekly wage. An employee's average weekly wage is based on their last 8 weeks of pay prior to taking paid family leave. For 2023, the New York State average weekly wage is $1,688.19. That means the maximum weekly benefit for 2023 is $1,131.08. This is $62.72 more than the maximum weekly benefit from 2022. It is important to note that employees can take this paid time off all at once or intermittently, but it must always be taken in full day increments. To estimate your wage benefit, you can use the 2023 calculator on the Paid Family Leave website. Paid family leave is fully funded through employee contributions. The contribution rate is reviewed annually and is subject to change by the New York State Department of Financial Services. In 2023, the payroll contribution is 0.455% of an employee's gross wages each pay period. The maximum annual contribution is $399.43. This is $24.28 less than in 2022. Employees earning less than the current New York State average weekly wage of $1,688.19 will contribute less than the annual cap of $399.43, consistent with their actual wages. To estimate deductions, you can also use the 2023 payroll deduction calculator, which can also be found on the Paid Family Leave website. So, To summarize the benefit and contribution updates for 2023, the maximum weekly benefit is increasing from $1,068.36 to $1,131.08. Also, as of January 1st of 2023, employers may deduct at the rate of 0.455% of an employee's gross wages each pay period, but capped at an annual maximum of $399.43. So now that we've covered the types of leave, the benefits and the costs, let's discuss who's covered and who's eligible for paid family leave. Most employees who work for private employers in New York State are covered under paid family leave. If you work for a public employer, your employer may opt into the program. If you're a public employee represented by a union, you may be covered if paid family leave is collectively bargained. For covered employees, your eligibility for taking paid family leave depends on meeting specific requirements for the amount of time you have worked for your employer. Full-time employees who regularly work 20 or more hours per week are eligible for paid family leave after 26 consecutive weeks of employment with the same employer. Part-time employees who work a regular schedule of fewer than 20 hours per week are eligible after working 175 days, which do not need to be consecutive. Citizenship and/or immigration status is not a factor in employee eligibility. In 2021, Governor Hochul signed an amendment to the workers' compensation law, which expands coverage for domestic workers. Previously, domestic workers were only required to be covered if they worked at least 40 hours per week for their employer. As of January 1st of 2022, domestic workers who are hired directly by a private homeowner and who work 20 or more hours per week for the private homeowner are required to be covered for paid family leave. These workers are eligible once they have been in employment with that employer for 26 consecutive weeks. Also effective January 1st of 2023, siblings are included in family members eligible to receive family care under paid family leave. Check with your employer for details on when this goes into effect for your policy. Paid family leave coverage is not optional for eligible employees. You can waive coverage if you regularly work 20 or more hours per week, but won't be in employment for 26 consecutive weeks. Or if you regularly work fewer than 20 hours per week and won't work 175 days in a 52-week period. Seasonal workers are a good example of this, as they may work full-time, but only for 3 months out of the year. If you meet the criteria for waiving coverage, your employer must provide you with a waiver form, which is also available on the Paid Family Leave website. If you waive coverage, you will not make contributions, and you will not be eligible for paid family leave benefits. Employers should keep a copy of your waiver on file. If your schedule changes such that you no longer qualify for a waiver, your waiver will automatically be revoked within 8 weeks of the schedule change. You can also voluntarily revoke a waiver at any time. If your waiver is revoked, your employer will begin taking paid family leave contributions and collect any retroactive amounts due. Now we'll cover how to request paid family leave for military-related leave, as well as how disputes and discrimination issues will be handled. As previously mentioned, paid family leave is fully phased in. So if you are an eligible employee, you now have the maximum benefit available to you once every 52 weeks. When you're ready to request paid family leave for military deployment, there are 3 basic steps. Step 1 is to notify your employer at least 30 days before the start of your leave if it's foreseeable, or as soon as possible. Step 2 is to complete the request forms. And step 3 is to send all the required forms to the insurance carrier. The insurance carrier must pay or deny your request within 18 calendar days of receiving the completed request, or the first day of leave, whichever is later. You must submit your completed request package to your employer's insurance carrier within 30 days after the start of your leave to avoid losing benefits. So now let's take a look at each of these steps a little more in depth. Step 1, inform your employer. Let your employer know at least 30 days before the start of your leave if it's foreseeable. If you need to take military leave unexpectedly and 30 days notice isn't possible, please notify your employer as soon as possible. Step 2 is to complete the required paid family leave request forms. For military leave, your request will contain 3 forms. The first one, Request for Paid Family Leave, or Form PFL1, gives your insurance company information about you. The second form, the Military Qualifying Event, which is Form PFL5, requires information about the military member on covered active duty or impending call to covered active duty and their status. If the request is to meet with a third party, you'll also have to fill out another section of Form PFL5, which is the template for documentation for military qualifying event, Form PFL5T, to provide supporting documentation of the meeting. You can get paid family leave request forms from your employer's insurance carrier, or directly from paidfamilyleave.ny.gov/forms. Now, let's take a look at the request for paid family leave, which is Form PFL1. Every employee who is requesting paid family leave starts with this form. It asks for basic information about you and the leave you want to take, and has a section for your employer to complete as well. You will submit this form to your employer's insurance carrier, along with other completed forms for the type of leave you are taking. Form PFL1 has 2 parts. You are responsible for filling out Part A, and your employer is responsible for filling out Part B. The first section of Part A covers your personal information, including your address, your social security number or tax identification number, and your date of birth. You must also state why you are requesting the leave and how it pertains to you. Next, indicate if you expect your leave to be a continuous period or intermittent. You may not know all of the dates for certain, so you can indicate that they are estimated and update your insurer if a change is needed. Finally, you must provide information about your employment, including your employer's location and phone number, your date of hire, your average gross weekly wage, whether or not you have more than one employer, if you are taking paid family leave from that other employer, and if you are currently receiving workers' compensation lost wage benefits. You then need to sign and date Part A of the form and give it to your employer, who will then complete Part B of the form. Before giving this form to your employer, make sure to make a copy of Form PFL1. Your employer has 3 business days to fill out Part B of Form PFL1 and return it to you. If your employer does not return the form, you can still proceed with your paid family leave request. Next, you must complete the military qualifying event, which is Form PFL5. You will need to provide information about the military member on covered active duty or impending call to cover active duty status, including the military member's name, their date of birth, gender, mailing address, relationship to you, the employee, the time frame of active duty, and the qualifying reason you are requesting paid family leave. In addition, you must also select which supporting document you will be attaching as proof that the military member is on covered active duty or impending call or order to covered active duty status. Supporting documentation can be one of the following: a United States Department of Labor Military Family Leave certification, also called the Federal Military Leave Form, a copy of military duty papers, or other documentation supporting the reason for the leave. For example, a copy of a meeting notice or other meeting documentation, ceremony details, and rest and recuperation orders. You will need to include your name and date of birth on the top of the second page of the form and attest to whether or not you'll be including supporting documentation with the form. Finally, you must sign and date the form. The final part of the form is the template for documentation for military qualifying event, which is Form PFL-5T. And this is used to provide supporting documentation when you are using paid family leave to meet with a third party. For example, a meeting with a daycare facility or a financial counselor. You can make copies of this form and use one or each meeting for which you are requesting paid family leave. To complete this form, you must first provide your name, date of birth, Social Security or tax identification number, and your mailing address. Next, you must submit the following information for each required meeting or event: the name of the individual you will be meeting with, their title, organization, phone or fax numbers, email address, and their mailing address. In addition, you must also describe the nature of the meeting and include the dates if you know them. Step 3 is to send all the forms to your employer's insurance carrier. Before submitting your forms, please make sure you have a copy of Form PFL-1 and Form PFL-5. You will submit Form PFL-1, Form PFL-5, and Form PFL-5T if necessary to your employer's paid family leave insurance carrier or directly to your employer if they are self-insured. The address can be found in Part B, Question 13 of Form PFL-1. This is the section your employer completed. If the carrier's address is not on the form, you can ask your employer or contact the Paid Family Leave Helpline at 844-337-6303 for assistance. The insurance carrier must pay or deny within 18 calendar days of receiving your completed request, or the first day of leave, whichever is later. If for some reason your paid family leave request is denied, or you have another claim-related dispute, such as the amount of your benefits or the timeliness of a carrier's decision, you may request to have the denial reviewed by a neutral arbitrator. Your insurance carrier, or your employer if they are self-insured, will notify you of the reason for the denial and provide you with information about requesting arbitration. Arbitration for paid family leave is handled by National Arbitration and Mediation, otherwise known as NAM. More information on arbitration is available on NAM's website at https://nyspfla.namadr.com. As we mentioned earlier, your employer may not discriminate against you for requesting or taking paid family leave, and you are guaranteed job protection with the same or a comparable job upon return from paid family leave. If your employer does not return you to your same or a comparable job, terminates you, reduces your pay and or benefits, or disciplines you in any way as a result of you requesting or taking paid family leave, you can file a discrimination claim with the Workers' Compensation Board. An administrative law judge may order an employee to reinstate that employee, pay any lost wages, pay attorney's fees, and pay up to $500 in penalties. The process and forms are available at paidfamilyleave.ny.gov, or you can call the Paid Family Leave Helpline for assistance at 844-337-6303. There are a few frequently asked questions about paid family leave and other leave policies that may be helpful for you to know, so we are now going to go over those. How are paid family leave and FMLA similar? There are several similarities between New York's paid family leave and the Federal Family Medical Leave Act. Both provide leave for bonding with a child, caring for a family member with a serious health condition, and assisting when a family member is deployed on active military service abroad. You are also guaranteed that you will return to the same or a comparable position and that your health insurance will continue on the same terms as if you'd continued to work. If you contribute to the cost of your health insurance, you must continue to pay your portion of the premium cost while on leave. However, there are a number of key differences. The first being that PFL is paid, FMLA is not paid. Almost all private employers will carry paid family leave insurance. FMLA does not include insurance, and it has a 50-employee threshold for eligibility. The length of time you must work is also different. For paid family leave, if you regularly work 20 or more hours per week, you must be in employment for 26 consecutive weeks for that employer. And if you regularly work fewer than 20 hours per week, you must work 175 days for that employer, which again do not need to be consecutive. For FMLA, you must have worked for a full year and 1,250 hours in the past 52 weeks to qualify. The biggest distinction may be that under New York's paid family leave, you are taking leave to care for someone else, not for your own health condition. With FMLA, you are allowed to take leave for your own health condition. Paid family leave is only taken in full day increments, whereas FMLA may be taken hourly. And lastly, under paid family leave, you do not need to use other paid time off first. What is needed to demonstrate a domestic partnership? You do not need to have a registered domestic partnership to take paid family leave to care for a domestic partner. The definition in the law is broad, and there are a number of factors that are looked at when determining whether a domestic partnership exists. These include, but are not limited to, common ownership of property, children in common, signs of intent to marry, shared budgeting, and the length of the personal relationship. For specific questions about what documentation you may need to submit to demonstrate a domestic partnership, you should reach out to your employer's PFL insurance carrier. Can military leave be used to take time off to care for a service member's child? Military leave covers making arrangements for the military member's child, as well as urgent, non-routine childcare by the family member. This includes circumstances when the covered active service or call to covered active service status of the military member necessitates a change that may result in arranging for alternative childcare, providing childcare for a child on an urgent, immediate need basis, enrolling in or transferring to a new school or daycare facility, or attending meetings with staff at a school or a daycare facility. Ongoing routine childcare needs would not be covered. For example, an employee cannot take paid family leave to watch a service member's child during summer vacation. However, that employee could take paid family leave to arrange for such childcare. Can you take paid family leave to care for ill or injured service members or veterans? Yes, you can request paid family leave to care for an ill or injured service member or a veteran in their family with a serious health condition. A serious health condition is defined as an illness, injury, or condition that requires either inpatient care in a hospital, hospice, or residential health facility, or continuing treatment or supervision by a healthcare provider. A COVID-19 diagnosis may qualify as a serious health condition. Qualifying family members include your spouse, domestic partner, child, stepchild, parent, parent-in-law, step-parent, grandparent, or grandchild. Effective on January 1st of 2023, siblings will be included in family members eligible to receive family care under paid family leave. Please check with your employer for details on when this goes into effect for your policy. How does paid family leave differ from benefits administered by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs? The U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs benefit is a federal program and does not impact or affect eligibility for New York State paid family leave. Paid family leave for the care of an ill or injured family member who happens to be a veteran is different from Veterans Affairs benefits in these ways. The benefit is for the employee as the caregiver helping their ill or injured family member. The illness or injury does not have to be service-connected. The nature of the veteran's military discharge does not matter. And the illness or injury does not need a final diagnosis from the VA doctor or the VA rating to qualify. So, for example, an employee cannot take paid family leave for any of the reasons mentioned above, they could not take the federal program for that, but they can take paid family leave. How do you plan leave when you don't know exact dates? If you don't know the exact dates for when you'll need to take leave, inform your employer as soon as you do know when you'll be out. Complete and submit the forms and supporting documentation as soon as possible following the initial leave event. You'll have 30 days from the first day of your leave to submit your completed request without losing benefits. If the leave is taken intermittently, employers can require as much notice as practicable before each day of intermittent leave. Form PFL1 also allows you to list estimated dates. Estimated dates will alert the insurance carrier, so it can inform you of any policies it has in place to notify the carrier with the exact dates are known. Remember, PFL must be taken in full day increments. Do you have to submit the entire form package each time you need leave? Submitting an entire form package each time you need leave will depend on each insurance carrier's processes and whether or not the certification covers the entire period. Section 204(1) of the Workers' Compensation Law states that if the events are separated by more than 3 months, they are different qualifying events and a new form package will likely be required. As we mentioned earlier, there are 2 additional uses of paid family leave that took place under emergency legislation former Governor Cuomo signed in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The legislation allows for a combination of New York paid family leave and disability benefits if you are under an order of mandatory or precautionary quarantine or isolation due to COVID-19. This is the only time you may receive paid family leave and disability benefits at the same time. This also gives you access to paid family leave if your minor dependent child is under an order of mandatory or precautionary quarantine or isolation due to COVID-19. You may apply for a combination of paid family leave and disability benefits to receive your full pay up to a cap for some or all of the quarantine period. You may be eligible to receive 67% of your pay, up to maximum weekly benefit of $840.70. Disability benefits will then make up the difference in your salary, up to a maximum weekly benefit of $2,043.92, for a combined total of $2,884.62 per week. There is no waiting period, and again, you will have job protection throughout the quarantine. Depending on the size of your employer, paid sick leave benefits may also be available and must be used prior to any paid family leave and disability benefits. Please note, though, this does not apply if you work for a public employer or an employer with 100 or more employees, because those employers are required to provide 14 days of paid sick leave. If you request leave for your minor dependent child's quarantine or isolation, you may be eligible to receive 67% of your pay, up to a maximum weekly benefit of $840.70. More detailed information about taking paid family leave for your quarantine or your child's may be found at paidfamilyleave.ny.gov/COVID-19. There you will also find information about New York State's COVID-19 paid sick leave requirements, some FAQs, application forms, and more. So, as you think about how paid family leave may be able to help you and your family, we do have a number of resources to assist you. Complete details on paid family leave are available at paidfamilyleave.ny.gov, along with other resources, including paid family leave request forms and fact sheets, weekly deduction and benefit calculators, updates for 2023, and information about paid family leave quarantine leave benefits. If you are thinking about taking paid family leave soon, you can download the forms now and get started filling them out. You may also contact the Paid Family Leave Helpline at 844-337-6303 for assistance. If you are not already subscribed for email updates on paid family leave, including information on upcoming webinars, you can subscribe by clicking Get Paid Family Leave Updates on the bottom of the paidfamilyleave.ny.gov homepage. So thank you for the opportunity to discuss New York's landmark paid family leave benefit with you. We will now use the rest of your time to take your questions. Please keep in mind that the board is unable to provide legal advice, which includes guidance about what you should do in specific situations. So if you have specific questions or concerns about a request for paid family leave, you should contact your disability and paid family leave insurance carrier, as they are the entity that makes the decision to pay or deny benefits. I also want to let you all know that we will be providing you with a copy of this slide deck as well as a recorded version of this presentation. Make sure you are signed up for email updates so you know when those are available. I'll pull this slide up here with the helpline as well as the website. And again, just scroll down to the bottom of the page and select the Get Paid Family Leave Updates button. And that way, when we have this presentation available, you can view it. We do have previous PFL webinars on our website and on our YouTube page, recorded versions. So if you while you're waiting for this one to come out, if you have specific questions or you want a refresher on paid family leave in general, I strongly encourage you to visit our YouTube page. Just search New York State Workers' Compensation Board. We have dozens of paid family leave videos on there as well. With that, however, like I said, we are going to take your questions, so I will now turn it over to Courtney, who will review and answer the questions that have already been submitted.
All right, thanks, Adam. So the first question that we see here is, if you're out on PFL, is that time pensionable, or is there going to be a break in service? So the PFL is job protected, and you're entitled to return to the same or comparable job upon return from leave. But the law also says that you're not entitled to the accrual of any benefit or seniority or something like that that you would have had you not gone on leave. So the employer is not required to provide you kind of a benefit or accrual that you might have gotten had you not taken leave. Pensions are not specifically addressed in the PFL law or regs, and because I can't provide legal advice, I'm not going to be able to tell you yes or no. But you should discuss that with your employer or your union representative. But it is something that it may not count, but it may differ by employer. So I recommend talking to your employer. Okay, the next question here is, can someone take PFL to be with their family member who is coming back from deployment? And if so, is there a certain time frame, such as within the first month that they're back? So the qualifying military agencies for PFL are the same as the reasons under FMLA. So we don't actually list reasons that you can take military leave under the FMLA, but I'm sorry, under PFL, we just reference the FMLA. But if you go to the U.S. Department of Labor's website, so it's the Wage and Hour Division, that's the entity that administers FMLA, so it's the federal FMLA, Family and Medical Leave Act, that has the qualifying exigencies. And there is like rest and recuperation, military events and related activities like official ceremonies, programs, whatever. There are some situations where upon return from leave, so short-term temporary rest and recuperation, certain post-deployment activities. So that does have to be within 90 days of the end of the military member's covered service. So there are a few situations where you may be able to take it upon return. So including arrival ceremonies, reintegration briefings, events. There are other official ceremonies. So it's really going to be kind of like on a case-by-case basis, and you're going to need documentation. But that's the U.S. Department of Labor's Wage and Hour Division. You can go to for more information. They have tons of fact sheets and things like that. And like I said, we just adopted their reasons. So they're the ones that have kind of the robust FAQs and fact sheets about when you can and can't use it.
All right, thanks, Courtney. Can you quickly clarify if an employee wants to take paid family leave for an injured or ill service member? Would they fill out the paperwork for paid family leave military, or would that be for paid family leave for family care?
So if we're talking about a family member, even if they're in the military and they have a serious health condition, it's going to be family care. So it's not going to be the military leave, it's going to be family care. And that's just a family member, which is that long list of family members, sibling, spouse, parent, grandparent, all that long list of members. Anytime that there's a serious health condition, including if it was incurred during military service or anything like that, anytime that a family member has a serious health condition, if you're eligible for PFL, you can take it to care for that family member, and it's going to be the family care. And again, it can be, we mentioned this during the presentation, but it can be any healthcare provider that is treating the employee or the employee's family member can certify a serious health condition. So it doesn't have to be anyone specific. There's a long list of healthcare providers, which you can see on the website, but they could certify the serious health condition as well. Okay, next question I see here is, can you use PFL first to help a wife with a newborn and then request FMLA in order to maximize the number of days that you're out of work? So generally speaking, an employer can require you to take FMLA and PFL for the same qualifying event at the same time. So if you have FMLA available to you and you have PFL and you're taking it for the same reason, they can require you to take it at the same time. That said, if you discuss it with your employer, they can certainly allow you to take it consecutively, so one after the other. If you were going to take PFL first and then FMLA, your employer can allow you to do that, but they are not required to. They can force you to take them at the same time if it's for the same event and you have both leaves available to you.
I do not see any other questions coming in, so we will go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you, Courtney, for taking the time to answer the questions. Thank you all for joining us. We always appreciate your participation. When you log out of today's session, you will be directed to take a brief survey. Your answers will help us improve future webinars, so we appreciate you taking a couple minutes to respond to that. And also, just a reminder before we sign off, I do want to let you know again, you can sign up to receive paid family leave news, including information on future webinars, straight to your inbox. Again, just visit the Paid Family Leave website, scroll down to the bottom of the homepage, and select the Get Paid Family Leave Updates button, and you will be notified when this recording and the slide deck are available to view. And again, we also distribute information via social media, so make sure you are following the Workers' Compensation Board on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. I highly encourage you to visit the YouTube page, as we have dozens upon dozens of previously recorded webinars on paid family leave that might be helpful to you. Again, thank you all for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.